Sonia, welcome to Fast to Heal Stories. It's delightful to have you here. And the topic that we're going to be talking about today is pertinent for everyone. So we discuss a lot about blood sugar regulation and metabolic disease and how to overcome all of that, a lot of nutrition, but mindset is so important. So we're going to focus mostly around that today. But I'm so happy to have you here and get your spin on so many things. But start with, I know your background, but start with your story, your background, how you got to be a mindset professional working with that, because what you started with was not this.
No, first of all, Shanna, it's so nice to be here. Those of you who are listening to this, Shanna looks like particularly glowy today in a way that I was like, I need all the tips and tricks. I'm barely surviving my 2 children. How have you done this with your 3 kids? So Shanna, just know that I'm already like marveled by you. And I'm so excited for our conversation today because, as you said, like mindset is the backbone of everything, right? And when we talk about my journey, it really was sort of like I was living one version of reality until my mid-20s. And then I had like an early midlife crisis, let's call it, and broke the house of cards down and sort of subscribed to a new model of living that has continued to evolve and will probably continue to evolve until I'm dead. But if I look at the 2 sort of big chunks of my life, the primary differentiator has been mindset. A lot of the tools and tactics have also shifted along the way, but, externally, you can probably be like, oh, Sonia's always been this sort of like type A go-getter. She, either climbs the corporate ladder or she builds businesses. But the truth of the matter is, there's been a lot of reformatting that's had to go on with my mindset, and it's work that I continue to do every day, because I think, to make a long story short, I sort of grew up in a really traditional, high performance South Asian household. So, typical brown parents, really strong standards when it came to academia, when it came to image, beauty, success, really trying to create a standard within the household of excellence. And my brother was born gifted, like the real kind. And 8 years later, I came out just like big and bright and boisterous. And my parents were like, oh, dear God, like, what is this? Because we need her to become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. And this is a lot of personality. And so I spent arguably, 19, 20 years of my life in the household, really trying to square peg round hole myself, doing everything I could to subscribe and abide by the evaluation criteria that my parents had, whether it was spoken or unspoken, because frankly, I had adopted it all, right? Like, I believed that that's what I wanted too, because of course I wanted to be successful. Of course I wanted to be considered pretty. Of course I wanted to be thin enough. I wanted to feel good enough. And so I raced and chased my way through to the end destination, which included, getting into the top business school in Canada, busting through, my business degree and landing, for the first time ever in IBM Canada, this amazing executive position coming straight out of university. And so I had made it and I was like, I am woman, hear me roar. This is the next chapter of my life where I finally get to be happy. And as the story goes, as you know, that's like not how it works. And very quickly, I'd say about a year into my career, I would find myself sort of waking up with this kind of like longing feeling, dread. I didn't really know how to pinpoint the emotions because frankly, I had been detached from my feelings all my life, like living in permanent freeze. And so I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't feel good, but I have everything I ever wanted. I've got the career, I've got the husband, I've got the penthouse, I've got everything that they said I would need to be happy. But like, why am I not happy? And when I didn't know what to do, of course, I chose higher education because like, when is more education not the answer to uncomfortable feelings? I went and did my executive MBA, continued to work at IBM, decided to switch industries and, try a smaller company, that wasn't really doing it for me. I quickly realized that this isn't like a company issue or an industry issue, but like there's a fundamental misalignment here. And so to make a long story short, when I didn't have any other tactics to throw at the problem, I decided to heal my relationship with my body. And I say that because through the race and chase of my life and constantly fighting the battle of thin enough, beautiful enough, I had subscribed to the hamster wheel of weight loss. I believed deeply that happiness was just 10 pounds away. And I wanted to just be like heroin chic thin. It was like this desperation that I have because I grew up in the 90s, right? So it was like collarbones on collarbones on collarbones. That was what was considered beautiful. And I believed it. And so I too, like so many women out there, were on the yo-yo weight loss bandwagon all my life, up 10 pounds, down 10 pounds. I suffered from eating disorders. I was anorexic in high school, suffered from bulimia in university, but I was also in denial about all of it. I was like, oh, whatever. Like I can't seem to figure out that one piece of the equation, but I'm so excellent in every other area. And so I just like quietly tucked the shame and the guilt and the fear really away to myself, never spoke about it, didn't share any of what was going on with anybody. And when I was like, okay, like, I don't know what, I'm not happy. This company isn't doing it. I need to figure out my life. Maybe I'll go on mat leave and I'll just like make a quiet exit. Then no one can judge me because I'll be a mother. And then I can like figure it out later on, but at least I'll just like have a baby and it'll be okay. But I was like, how can you have a baby when your relationship with food and your body is so rigid? It's volatile. It's both at the same time. It's toxic. And so I took a year. I had no deadline, but I just gave myself permission to be like, we'll see where this goes. Retaught myself the fundamentals of fitness and nutrition. And slowly but surely, by shifting my approach, really prioritizing strength instead of size, understanding nourishment instead of how little can I eat, because then that'll prove that I don't even have hunger. It was a journey of connecting for the first time my mind and my body. And what came from there was so much passion, so much insight, so much of a desire to help people finally stop doing it, whatever it is. But at the time, it felt like it was, stopping the war with your body. I wanted to be able to help people do it differently. And so I decided to blow it all up. I became a personal trainer and nutrition specialist. I took on a portfolio of clients. I started working with people one-on-one, and it was just the birthplace of me really, I think, finding the seed of purpose, maybe for the first time. And from there, it moved into sort of the media side of things, TV segments, radio segments, all that sort of stuff, because I always loved speaking. And from there, it moved into speaking as a professional speaker. From there, it moved into releasing my first book this year. And the journey has just sort of evolved from being anchored around fitness and nutrition primarily to actually being anchored in mindset and all of the aspects of that include the body, include the body work that has to go hand in hand with the mind work. But I think for me, my journey has been filled with time and time again, realizing that what we're experiencing in this one area of our lives is just a manifestation of so much of what we're carrying with us from a mindset perspective in all areas of our lives. And so if we can look at it more holistically, if we can look at the big picture, what we'll start to see is a shift in all areas of our lives, including our body, including our cravings, including sugar, including how we approach weight loss or strength or building ourselves from the inside out.
Yeah. And I think so many people can relate to that. Like they have many, many aspects of their life, like I'm thriving. I'm thriving
yes.
here. And then there's
it's
just
Instagram
always,
perfect,
Yeah. And it's like, there's just always just one thing. And for a lot of women, it is like weight related, health related, like, oh, if I could just get my weight under control, my health under control, like everything would be perfect.
Totally.
But I do have to make a really, really quick plug for Labri because you commented on my skincare.
Yes.
It's so simple. I like wash and I moisturize and that's it. And it's a Wisconsin based company and they sponsor this podcast and I have been in love with their products
sponsors.
forever.
You are nailing her skin. from one, tired woman to probably another. Let me tell you, she looks
Right.
amazing. And we're
Oh.
all endorsing your products now.
Thank you. But I do want to like a couple things that really hit home. Like I feel like we've had people put so much pressure on us, like in our late teens, early 20s and beyond. Like you have to have your life figured out. You have to know what you're going to do. And I have two kids in college right now. My 20-year-old daughter is in her junior year. She's wanted to be a teacher from, I can't even remember. I mean, she had a
She was teaching her
classroom.
stuffies when she came
Yeah.
in.
She had a classroom in our basement. She had all the neighbor kids over. I mean,
Oh, I
they
love
loved having her as their teacher. And then there's my son who's 18. He's a freshman and he gets so worked up and so much anxiety around not knowing what he wants to do. I'm like,
Oh,
you'll
so much
figure
pressure.
it out. And then like you feel the pressure and you go into one thing and you don't really like it. And then you feel stuck. And
Absolutely. And
I
you
don't,
feel like the sand timers just running out and you're like, oh my
yes,
God. And
yes,
it creates this sense of urgency that I think really becomes the mechanism for us overriding so much of the nuanced data that we're always being given, right? By our experiences, by our body, by our feelings, by our experiences, but we're in a rush, you know? And it's so hard to fight against that current. I mean, I admire your daughter. I'm not going to lie. I just like love that steadfast knowing. She was like, I am meant to do this, and she carried it through. But I empathize with your son because it's so hard to be able to have the confidence and certainty in yourself to be able to give yourself the permission to move at your own pace. It's scary,
yeah,
right? Because you're just like the comparison game keeps us trapped in
yes.
this like performative existence. And then social
Mhm.
media, like, oh God.
Yes. Yeah. And women compare themselves, siblings compare themselves. Like he looks at her like she's got it all figured out. She's struggling with, like, do I really want to do this? Do I want to go into ministry? Like I'm rethinking just last week.
Yes.
She's like, I'm rethinking my whole life, mom. I'm like, oh boy.
Here we go.
And that's okay. And
Yeah.
when my kids were really little, I've never talked about this on the podcast. I was a stay-at-home mom for like 5 years while we were having our children, and
Yeah.
they were little. And during that time, like I've always just had that entrepreneur, like I got to do
Spirit.
something. I gotta,
Yeah.
yeah. I was polling my neighbors on certain
Yeah. Yeah. You're
topics.
like,
I
I'm
mean,
either going to
I
be
was
like head
like,
of the PTA
yeah,
or I need to start my own business. Like, I got to just have my hands in
yes.
something.
Yeah, it's like it was very honorable that I got to stay home when I did, but I was always like, oh, what can I do? What can I be doing? What can I be doing? And at one time I started like a home design business. Like I
Oh
love
my God. That's
decorating.
amazing.
And
Your
I'm like,
backdrop looks pretty great.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna start designing rooms for people.
I love
And it
that.
was short-lived, but I mean, it was not anything health and nutrition related. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
people say, oh, well, she's been a dietitian for 23 years, or, you went and got your
Yeah.
MBA, whatever. Like, that's just
Yeah.
what she does. Like, we all have all of these interests, and it's just so hard to, keep it
Break
all
out.
together. Yes. And figure out what really personally makes you thrive. But I want to start a little bit with like our inner dialogue because that's
Please.
so important. And a lot of it, like I said, like it's certain aspects of our life, we feel like we're thriving, we got it together, other things, not so much. And what we talk to ourselves about, that inner dialogue, can keep us so stuck or
Mm.
help us to get unstuck. So can we start there? And just if you have any
Yeah.
tips, recommendations as to, I know I
Oh,
do it myself. Like just this week, I've been in a funk. I'm like, I can't get out of this funk I'm in. It's like, it's
oh,
almost Christmas.
yeah.
It's crazy here. It's
I know.
winter. There's no sunshine. But
I know.
like, how do we start with that inner dialogue?
Yeah, I think that's such a great question and such an important place to start unlayering because I think so many of us are performing and doing and succeeding in ways that we have to because we're juggling a million balls and we are trying to ensure that we are satisfying expectations all the time, whether they're others, whether they're our own, whether we can't tell the difference. And I think so many of us, particularly women, are living that neck up existence where we're just doing our best to move at this frenzied pace not even realizing that the narrative inside, the stories, the lies that we're telling ourselves all the time to keep us in this overactive, high performance mode. The narrative is unkind, it's untrue, it's exhausting. And more importantly, it is responsible for, as you said, us staying stuck. Not because we believe it and then so, you know what, we're just going to stop what we're doing, unpack, and live in the shame of not being good enough, but rather because our subconscious mind is so powerful, and our limiting beliefs, those stories and lies and untruths that we are telling ourselves all the time, that we've adopted based on society, our family, our upbringing, our experiences, primarily from our childhood, frankly, those narratives are always leading us back to what is familiar and safe. And I say familiar and safe because you may not like falling off the wagon and gaining 25 pounds and being like, I don't understand. I finally felt like I cracked the code. Why am I so damaged and broken that I keep doing this to myself again and again, rebounding back and rebounding back and rebounding back? And then I ate an entire box of cookies and I know better than this. And I've learned everything and I thought I was healed. Well, when we don't unpack the limiting beliefs, those core beliefs that we hold, we are going to find ourselves back in the same rebound again and again and again, because that's what your subconscious is familiar with. It's what it knows and it's what it feels safe with, even though you're like, I hate this. It's driving me insane. It's ruining my life. And so you've got this tug of war happening. You know, you've got everything that you know at a conscious level that you're trying to maneuver through. And then this elastic band that is going to keep snapping you back. And so when we talk about limiting beliefs, I think the first step is so simple and so hard at the same time. It's allowing yourself the permission to finally cultivate awareness, you know, rather than trying to suppress the limiting beliefs, which so many of us are always doing with like affirmations and quotes and this. And okay, when I'm going to watch a positive video, a 30-second reel, I'm going to be motivated. I'm going to layer motivation and commitment on top of the limiting beliefs so that I like can't even hear them. My recommendation, my urge to everyone listening is to give yourself permission to actually just start to pay attention, to tune in, to cultivate a gentle awareness as best you can. And that can be done just by taking a moment here and there throughout the day, or it can be meditation or breath work or all these more robust mindfulness techniques. But cultivate awareness, because when you do, there's a really powerful exercise that you can do to really start moving through this in a tangible way. Do we have time for me to take you through it?
Absolutely.
Let's do it, Shanna. So here's what happens when you start to cultivate awareness. You are going to find moments throughout your day where your shoulders are getting tight, or your tummy is getting tight, or something's just not starting to feel so good. Or rather than it being a body-based experience, it may be that the noise in your head is starting to get just loud enough that you're like, oh, I'm looping again. I continue to say that thing to myself again and again that's evoking a sense of worry or whatever it is. When you find that happening, I want you to take out a notebook. It can be electronic, it can be paper, it can be your phone. I don't care what it is. Nobody's going to be looking at this but you. And I want you to verbal diarrhea every single thing that is coming up in your mind without filter. Again, nobody's reading this but you. I want you to pen to paper. Don't take it slow, because if you're a perfectionist like me or a recovering perfectionist like me, you're going to be like, my punctuation, there's no capital. That doesn't seem like a nice sentence, and you'll miss the whole damn point. So as fast as you can, like vomit it all out. Oh my God, I think the meeting's going to go so bad. I always do bad in these meetings. I hate public speaking. The last time I did this, they said they were going to give me the deal, but then the rug got pulled out from under me. And I want you to vortex in there with the noise. When you're done, I want you to put it away. I don't want you to unpack it yet. I don't want you to do anything with it. We are not doing a Dear Diary lesson entry here. We're just going to put it away. Because what we often don't realize is that just the step of tuning in, acknowledging, and letting it out creates so much catharsis. It's almost like you've captured it all. So the loop doesn't need to continue, because your mind's like, oh, she got it. And I know she got it because she wrote it down. Whatever, we'll do this later on. We can figure it out later. But for now, take a pause. I can take a back seat. the shoulders release, you take a deep breath, you get back to what you're doing, because like we don't have time to spend 23 hours of our day cultivating our mindset. We have to do things. So what I do is I'll go back to what I'm doing. I immediately feel better because I know that I can deal with this later. I'm not suppressing it. You know, what you resist persists. I'm not doing that. I'm coming back to it later. And then that day, usually, probably at night when the husband's gone to bed and the kids have gone to bed and I have space, if I have the bandwidth, it can even be the next day, whatever it is. When I feel like I have space to hear myself and really connect with my adult self, not the terrified little Sonia in there who's like, I don't know, I think I'm going to get in trouble all the time. But adult Sonia who's like, I can drive the car. I'm good. I will then first read all the verbal diarrhea once over. Again, potently but quickly so that I can't start being like, that's a bad sentence. I will just read the whole thing to reorient myself around like what came out. And then from there, I go into the real work. I will actually read it mindfully, thoughtfully, investigatively to be like, what am I even saying here? What are these themes? Oh my God, I'm actually saying the same thing 19 different times here in different ways. And I will take real life adult examples, real life adult insight, all the things that my aligned adult self know to be true, whether through my own experiences or others, or just facts and information that aren't fear-mongering. I will rebut each of the things that I am carrying. And not with like fakey fake quotes like, well, wherever you go, like there you are. And like, you just have to like trust in the universe because like the universe has your back. That doesn't work because again, it's not nuanced enough. If you are someone like me who's like, the language or the way that it's packaged has to be so precise that I believe it, because otherwise I'll just be like, that's cute. It applies for you, not to me, because the universe hates me. Like if it's not precise, I won't believe it. And so I will then do the work to create affirmations. Sometimes it's only one, sometimes it's 5. It can be any number of them that you feel like you need to actually then have new language, new proactive thoughts, new affirmations that you then carry with you. And I'll start my day the next day with the affirmations as a part of my morning routine, whether it's in the mirror, whether it is I am doing it as a part of a meditation, whether it's I'm just running on a treadmill and I'm saying these new affirmations, whatever I feel like I need, depending on how frenzied I am, I will use this new language to get ahead of the turmoil and the noise that I know is active right now. Something's happening in there and I know that it's true. It's not true, but it feels true. And then I will move through the work again with affirmations that feel really true and supportive. We know that affirmations work. And sometimes I need to be able to pull them out all throughout the day. And sometimes I just have to read them once in the morning and be like, yeah, I'm aligned, I'm clear, and we move forward. And it sounds like a really onerous exercise. You're like, oh my God, she wants me to like unpack and then rewrite and then do the things. This can be like a 2-minute exercise in the day. It can be a 5-minute exercise at night. And it can take you 30 seconds to read your affirmations if that's all you're going to do. And even just that starts the process of you releasing what you have been gripping onto subconsciously for so long. Does that make sense?
It does. And as I sit here processing what you're saying, I am not good at mindset work. I'm not good at meditation. I'm not good at yoga. Like I've gone to yoga a couple times. I'm like, I don't get this. Like my mind is
literally
just
like 3 months ago. I was like, that is just not for me.
I know. And I've tried so many times and I'm type A, I'm the perfection. Like how I operate is like from thing to thing to thing to thing. And it's
I'm
like
a Excel spreadsheet gal, you're
yeah.
just like organized and tools and go.
Yeah, I actually hate Excel because I don't know how to use it.
Those are my IBM days coming through. Those are my business decision models. That's just not a normal thing. Nobody likes Excel.
No, I hate Excel and I hate spreadsheets, but I just go from thing to thing to thing.
Yep.
And I don't let myself process things sometimes. But then what happens is I have a week like this week where I'm like, I'm so freaking burned out. I am like, like I just feel paralyzed and it doesn't happen to me very often, but I'm just like, I can't do all the things and I bring it on myself. I mean, it's not like people are pressuring me to do all, it's like, that this is just my personality. And it's like you have outside people like yourself, or like my daughter's really good at this. Like mom, she texted me the other day, and I wanted to go back and like learn the piano and just have an
Yeah.
outlet of some sort. And I love singing. She's like, promise me for 20 minutes, you're going to go down on the keyboard and start
Oh,
learning it. And I'm like,
I love your daughter.
okay.
That's so nurturing. That's
Oh, it
lovely.
is. And but yes. And so she recognized, but it's funny about her. She's the same way. She packs it all in. She can't say no. But I think a lot of the problem too, like that's just me. That's my
Yeah, yeah,
personality.
that's
So
okay.
as you're saying,
Absolutely.
as you're talking through this, I'm like, okay, here I sit at 47 years old and I'm still like, I'm
Yeah.
still not inviting in the deep breath. Like I actually had to do some deep breathing this week because I'm like, okay, like I can feel my heart like
Yeah, you're like, I'm like having
racing.
heart palpitations.
Yes, like
Yeah.
this has got, like I've got to take a step back from some of these
Yeah,
things. And you and I are recording this like a couple of weeks before Christmas. And so
absolutely.
many moms are feeling this, not even
Oh my
moms, just
God.
everybody who
Everybody. We're
has to
just, we're
do
at the
all the
end of the
things.
year, right? Where it's like,
Yes.
you know that there's still another sprint that you have to win and you're burnt out already from the year. And you're like, but like, can't I just lie on the sofa and eat shortbread cookies? And the answer is no, you can't. Or maybe you can, but you won't let yourself.
Right. And you'll
And then
feel guilty if you
and you'll
do.
feel guilty and then you'll self-loathe and then we got more limiting beliefs and the whole
uh,
thing becomes a really uncomfortable cycle. But I don't know any mom that's not where you are, Shanna.
I know. And that's what I
Truly.
tell myself. And I'm like, this is not like, all the things I'm worried about are not important. And I just like, this is stupid, So it's like,
Yes,
I've at least gotten that part.
I
Like
love
I
it.
acknowledge.
Yep, you're like,
Now
that's
I
enough,
actually,
this is stupid.
yes. Now I actually have to, like, I really love this exercise. I'm going to try it
I'm
and
so
see
glad.
where it goes.
I'm
But
so glad. Shanna, I also feel like because we're both so type A and so like high functioning or high performing, self-inflicted, um, I think you're gonna like the exercise because it is so tangible. When people are like just
yes.
meditate, you're like, I don't know what you're saying. Like, okay, I like tried to look at the dot on the wall, it didn't work. Like, this is annoying. I'm busy, gotta go.
Yeah.
But this is so tangible. You don't have to cultivate woo. The internal woo woo doesn't have to turn on for you to be like, oh my God, I'm like so stressed. Okay, like verbal diarrhea. Cool. I'm done. Put it away. Okay, I'm going to look at it later on. Wow, those are some like serious asshole statements I'm saying to myself. Here are 3 other ones that make me feel better. I took a deep breath, packed it away. I'm done. Took a shower, bed. Like it can be really, really functional, which I think I want to reiterate to everyone because as I talk about it, because I'm so long winded, it's like, you just like, this is going to take me a year. And you're like, it's so fast, so quick, so easy, so tangible. And the shifts start to happen instantly because awareness breeds more awareness. And it just becomes a more natural part of your process where, to be honest, you may get to the point, Shanna, where you are just able to be like, oh, I'm saying the one thing to myself again. That's really annoying and unhelpful. Okay, activated, traumatized childhood Shanna, sit down. Adult is here. You are safe. Back to work. And you may not even need to do the writing and the thing later on. But for anyone who's looking at starting the process and starting to like get the training wheels on the bike, it's a really functional way to do it. And I'm about that, right? Like I'm like, yes, I want to be able to like be connected to source, but also I really just tangibly want to like feel better, get my work done, and like keep moving through the journey as effectively as I can.
Yes. And as the type A's like us who have trouble turning off our brains, you're doing something.
Yeah.
You're doing something what they're like, yeah, for me to just sit, my mind just, no, it's just not going to work. And I wish I tell myself like, okay, we got to get better at this, but then it just stresses you out and you're like, nope, I got to do stuff. So,
Absolutely.
so your book is super interesting. It's called I'll Start Again Tomorrow. And there's, as I was reading through it, I was thinking about, so we've been told over and over, like knowledge is power, knowledge is power. And for a lot of things it is, it helps us with so many decisions
Absolutely.
over the course of our day. I mean, we're making thousands of decisions all day long and it's exhausting, but sometimes I think is knowledge power? Like some people have so much knowledge around certain situations, around certain topics. Maybe they have all the nutrition knowledge that they
Mhm.
need.
Mhm.
They know more about blood sugar regulation than I do. They
Then
know more about insulin resistance than I do, but yet they're stuck in doing things that are harmful to them, that go against all the knowledge that they know. So do you have any other, like, can you speak on that a
Yeah.
little bit? Like, how do we move from knowing to changing and doing and actually feeling better? Because I think that's such a problem. Like, I have so many students who are like, I know everything in your course, but I'm
And yet I
still
just
like,
can't, I
here
just
I
can't.
am.
I
I'm a
just can't
mess.
crack the code.
I'm a
Yeah.
metabolic mess. Like, what do I do?
Oof.
And I always feel like, oh, well, I taught you everything I know.
Yeah.
I'm not
I don't really know what to
sure.
tell you. Like, you've got the
Yeah.
tools, just go do them. Yes. I totally understand what you're saying. And I do have some thoughts here. Because, the mindset work, as we said, is gonna establish a new foundation slowly but surely. It's not an overnight fix, but when you start to plant new seeds, there's finally opportunity for new fruit, as opposed to just like, hoping that if you just like, water the soil just like 2%, there you are with your apple tree. And so I think there's two areas that really speak to me when it comes to this work. And this is highlighted in the book as well. We talked about limiting beliefs, but then there's also your personal evaluation criteria, and there's perfectionism. And both of those things can keep us stuck on the hamster wheel. So let's maybe start with the evaluation criteria. I use the term evaluation criteria because, frankly, I find the word values to feel a little too abstract, maybe a little bit too like, okay, values. But when I think about it as evaluation criteria, I'm like, oh, that makes sense to me, because I've got evaluation criteria for everything in my life, right? I'm not winging it in other areas of my life. And yet here I am when it comes to building a life that feels good, or adopting a new methodology for my fitness and my nutrition and my approach to my health, adopting an approach that feels good or feels like it's a reflection of who I am. That, was something I had never done my entire life. It's like, whatever, just do whatever you need to do to get the 10 pounds off. And then you'll like figure it out then. This idea that there's going to be like a magic mindset shift that happens later is this idea that we carry, right? It's why I titled the book, I'll Start Again Tomorrow, and Other Lies I've Told Myself, right? Because we carry with us this idea that tomorrow Sonia is not going to be, held back by Oreo cookies. She's going to have more motivation. She's going to have more commitment. She's going to have crack the code. She's not going to be held back by the things that today's Sonia is held back by. So today Sonia's just going to like eat all the cookies and get it out of her system so that she never wants a cookie again. And that's not the way it works, right? We don't just magically arrive at this new place where we're more motivated, more committed, we've healed, and we're just like, ain't no thing. And so when you get clear on your evaluation criteria, and I've got many guides for everyone to utilize, like literal just free guides to be able to work through this mindset work that I'll share with you. I like to create a mindset manifesto. And a mindset manifesto is essentially just an exercise that's going to create an articulation of what your highest self feels like to you. And the exercise is actually quite straightforward. You're going to, sort of give yourself a little bit of time to sit back and just like play a movie out in your head. Okay, I wake up in the morning, my feet touch the ground. What do I do? Oh, I like grab a glass of water. That's interesting. And then I go to the washroom, and then I do this. Who am I spending my time with? How am I spending my days? How am I feeling as I float through my days? Is it flow? Is it energy? Is it discipline? Is it structure? What am I doing with my work? What am I doing with my people? What am I doing with my relationships? What am I doing with food? How do I envision the highest version of myself living and being? And once you've done that little movie and you're like, yeah, I like feel like I've gotten enough, or you start to get angsty and you're like, it's too much. This feels too good. I'm too far away from it. I want you to stop. And again, I want you to just take out something, write down any of the salient points. You're like, oh yeah, turns out I start my mornings with a little bit of breath work. And then I don't actually work at the company I'm working at. I'm an interior designer, and I am doing X, Y, and Z, giving myself X, Y, and Z, feeling X, Y, and Z as I live out this version of me that feels like, yeah, I'm like really doing it. And some people come out of this with, again, like a full Dear Diary entry of like a story around who they are as their highest self. Some people come out with like 4 themes. They're like, turns out the key pillars in my life are this, 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 and this, and I'm done. Some people come up with like 2 statements, keep it on their phone. And what I encourage people to do is use the mindset manifesto. In the beginning, you're going to use it all the time. You're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to read it. You might read it at lunchtime again to remind yourself, like, this is who we're being. We are living as the highest version of ourselves right now, because that's the only way we can start practicing being our highest selves later, right? It's the only way that we can start to actually take the mindset work that we're doing and start practicing a new mindset. You're never going to click in to a mindset, right? You're going to have to practice a new way of thinking, feeling, and being. And having that articulation of self to yourself is so powerful. It's so powerful because it's just a touchstone. It's going to bring you back every time there's donuts in the office. Every time there's something, you're going to be like, don't feel so good. Mindset manifesto, bring it out, read it, done, bye. It's very powerful. And again, it sounds onerous, doesn't take long. And it's, again, a really tangible tool that you can rely on to keep yourself building off of a new foundation, not the same foundation as before. And one of the things that this is hopefully going to prevent you from, something that's going to help you break a key element of the cycle, is perfectionism, which is what I was saying earlier, right? We are all or nothing gals, right? We are like, I'm eating all the cookies, or I will never touch a cookie again. Or I don't even like cookies. I don't know why I keep referencing cookies, but the point is, it is like, I am in it to win it, or I'm a sloth with Netflix and I'm going to fetal position for 6 months until I'm so disgusted by who I am that I'm going to punish myself again by going to the other end of the spectrum. And it's the same pendulum, guilt and shame on both sides, trying to find a way to feel good enough that never comes. But when we've got the mindset manifesto and we've started the process of digging through our limiting beliefs, and we're willing to look at ourselves, and more importantly, we're willing to feel ourselves, right? We're willing to feel, or at least start to feel, how shitty it really feels, how shitty it feels to be on the hamster wheel, how shitty it feels to not be living in alignment with your core authentic self. It is exhausting and it feels horrible, right? It is the thing that keeps us feeling like we're stuck and we're never going to break free. And I think, as those 2 pieces start to move the needle, then it's time to look at the perfectionism. We have to move out of doing mode into feeling mode so that we can connect again the knowing and the doing. We know 90 minutes of fasted cardio as a female every single day, 7 days a week, is going to wreak havoc on our bodies, but we'll do it anyway because we need to look sexy in the red dress for Christmas party time, and look, whatever, we'll figure it out later on. But if you know what your evaluation criteria is, if you know what your values are, if you know that that is not how you are treating your body this time, well, then the system has to change. The grip, the perfectionist grip has to shift. And we have to be able to listen to the quiet whispers, the little twinges, oh God, Shanna, like you said, I'm really tired. I'm really tired. I am feeling burnt out. Is this the time for me to set my alarm at 4:30 and punish myself with a workout in the morning? Is it? Maybe. It could be actually that the solution is for you to be like, the frenzy is happening right now because I've swung to the other end of perfectionism, which is procrastination, right? We're either perfect or we're procrastinating, and there's no in between because we got to wait for the perfect moment. We have to wait for the December 1st that lands on a Monday, because then we're going to be like, oh my God, it's the perfect system and I'll be perfect and it's perfect. We have to let go of that and be like, is the angst, is the noise coming because I've procrastinated and dug myself into a hole? Where what I really need to protect my mental health is to wake up 2 hours before the kids every day, 1 hour before the kids every day, 30 minutes before the kids every day. So I could drink a glass of water, remind myself that my life isn't ending, maybe stretch so my groin isn't tight, and then move on with the day. Or do you need to give your body rest? because your metabolic engine is burnt. Your adrenals are fatigued, and maybe you just need to do some stretching and drink some Tulsi tea and call it a day for that day, knowing that you didn't fail the system. You didn't break your track record. It wasn't like, oh my God, I haven't gone to the gym for a day. Well, then I'm not going to the gym for the next 6 months because I was supposed to go every day for 90 days and now I suck. But rather like, oh, did I give myself what I need today? And let me tell you, as somebody who deeply still struggles with this, I am working on this every single day, so micro to the point that I was with a girlfriend yesterday, for example, and she was over and she was sitting on a bar stool and I was standing and she kept talking and talking and talking. And at one point I was like, I really want to sit down. And then I was like, oh my God, I know that I want to sit down. Now I'm going to ask her if we can move and then we can both sit down. And this sounds so ridiculous, but I was like, good for you, Sonia. Because normally I would have been like, oh, I'm just going to stand here and I'm just going to feel uncomfortable and just keep people pleasing and tucking my way through this. I don't need to sit down. I'm fine. I'm always fine. No, I'm pretty much never fine. And so, just these small micro moments of being like, turns out I'm thirsty. I gave myself water. Whatever it is that you feel like you need, when you can start to shift the perfectionist mentality through the values, through the limiting beliefs, and just through the awareness of I'm doing it again. I'm subscribing to doing mode instead of feeling mode. That's where we finally connect the mind and the body. We take mindset and we put it in to movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that actually. And as you were saying, turn the doing into feeling, that's something I need to work on all the time.
Shanna, me and you just are going to be accountability partners from now on. I'm going to literally be texting you being like, are you feeling today? Because I had a feeling. Tell me about your feeling. It's so hard. It's not.
No, you just keep doing things so you don't have to feel tired. Why would you need to stressed or whatever? No, just keep doing.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. And now that you say this, it does go back to my parents. We were not touchy-feely kind of people in our family. And
likewise,
and so much just making
sense. At 7:30 in the morning. It was about achievement, not feelings. It was, don't be childish. Whether it was overt or covert, so many of us adopted this idea that if we don't do, then how are we going to be good girls? How are we going to get patted on the head? How are they going to be like, that's my girl? And so then now we are 47-year-old adults, 39-year-old adult turning 40, being like, whose ticky marks am I still hoping to get? I'm the only adult in charge here. So why am I disciplining myself into action all the time when all I really want to do is lie down on the floor and breathe for a second, maybe, or not even breathe, maybe cry. I don't know what I need, but I know that what I don't need is more of a militant approach.
Right.
So that's the holidays. We're approaching the holidays right now. And if this releases and it's in the new year, you don't need the 90-day new year, new you model where you're and that's how I knew I was going to win 2024. You know how you're going to win 2024? First of all, there's no winning, but how you're going to feel good about how you're showing up in 2024? It's going to be by finally being willing to look at the little drawers and don't unpack it all. Nobody's trying to send you into depression over the holidays, but just being willing to open the drawers a little bit, seeing what's in there. And maybe you can reorganize one sock and throw away a sock that doesn't have a matching sock, and just gently start to witness the state of your closet. You'll know what to do. You'll know what to throw out. You'll know what to keep. You'll know what to reorganize. So many of us struggle. I deeply struggle with this, even now to this day, with trusting ourselves. And if we can't trust ourselves, who are we hoping to trust? So that to me is 2024. How do you slow down? And I'm not suggesting that we're slowing down and abandoning high performance. I'm suggesting that we're no longer going to be the high performance woman who believes the cost of high performance is herself. Right?
Absolutely.
That's the motto for 2024.
I love it. I'm going to re-listen to this episode many, many times I love that. After it airs. So, well, Sonia, this has been a delightful and enlightening conversation. I know, I hope people are, just feeling okay, more okay than they did when they started listening. So any closing thoughts that you want to bring in, and then tell us where we can find you and your book?
Absolutely. So the book, I'll start again tomorrow, and Other Lies I've Told Myself is available literally everywhere you can get books. So go for it. And it's got half of my face on it. So you'll probably be able to just spot it from a mile away. The rest of the material that I referenced is all available on my website, soniajhas.com. So SONIAJHAS.com. We've got a momentum library that we call it. And in the momentum library is all of my guides to be able to work you through all of this mindset work. And they're beautiful and they're precise and they're effective. I use them personally. Everybody on my team uses them. They're tools that we bring out regularly every quarter. They're really tangible, which I love, as opposed to being like, I don't know, you like, find a video you can watch. They're very tangible, meaty workbooks that I use that work for me and for my clients, my audience, everyone. The rest of me is available obviously on the website or on Instagram, TikTok, like all the social media things, same thing at Sonia Jhas. And closing remarks would be just, I know it can feel scary and I know it can feel difficult to come to a place where you're willing to tune in and listen and connect with everything you've probably been running away from for a long time. But I say this with so much love. You can't run from it. You actually don't have a choice. There's no way to crack the code on your happiness, on your wellness, on your vitality, on your authenticity, on the life you're living without being willing to look. And if you don't look, it will find you and hunt you down, whether it's in physical manifestations, whether it's in illnesses, whether it is in feelings, whether it is in the same falling off the wagon again and again and again. You actually have to do things differently, and sounds scary and big and like, oh, this is monstrous work. It's really not that hard. It's actually, once you like pull on the string a little bit, the whole tangled ball of thread will just unveil itself for you. It'll just be available to you if you're willing to listen. And so that's my only encouragement, is if you can just dip your toe in, the rest will happen and you will keep showing up and you will feel better and better and better and better. Because when you feel alignment, maybe for the first time, like you are living and being your highest self now, that is so powerful. It is empowering. It is going to become the drive for so much goodness in your life. And I want that for you. So do it. It's going to be worth it. And Shanna, this has just been such a delightful conversation. I appreciate you having me on the podcast so much. I loved our chat, and I want to just stay connected, because I'm like, you know what? She needs to do the work too, as I need to do the work too. Sure. And we're going to do it together.
I absolutely need to do the work, but we will link all of your resources in the show notes for sure. And I'm sure many will be taking advantage of everything there. And this sounds like something I want to go through myself. So thanks so much for being here and sharing your knowledge. It was a delightful conversation.
Thank you. And happy 2024, wherever you are.
You as well.